Wealthy people don't play the salary game. They play the ownership, systems, and compounding game. And today I'm going to show you exactly why your salary will never make you rich and what exactly will. My name is Alice. I'm a CPA and a Chief Financial Officer, and I also own my own wealth management firm. And I have worked with and seen in my career many people who are extremely wealthy. And I can tell you that the difference isn't in income. It's in behavior, systems, and what you do with the gap between your income and your spending. In fact, I think the average American wastes around $18,000 a year. I believe that's the statistic on things like eating out, new cars, subscriptions, and upgrades that really don't move the needle in your net worth. So let's break the salary trap and talk about the 7 levers that can actually make you rich. The average person is taught to earn, spend, and repeat, whereas the wealthy person earns, invests, and owns. You see, a salary is linear. You trade an hour for $1. Even with raises, you are capped by time, whereas wealth is exponential. Wealth comes from assets that compound while you sleep. These are stocks, businesses, real estate, and skills that raise your earning power without raising your hours worked. The reason why the average approach of earn, spend, repeat fails is because the average American is only able to save 6% after taxes. And at that pace, if you were to continue doing that, retirement is late and it's lean. When you are in the earn, spend, and repeat cycle, you're also prone to lifestyle creep. So every raise that you get becomes a nicer car, pricier rent, more eating out. That gap never actually widens. And let's also talk about high interest debt as well, because the average household carries around $9,000 in credit card debt. And at 20% APR on average, interest basically eats your entire raise, or interest eats a lot of your extra money. Then there's budget leaks. So these are things like overpriced fast food, frequent eating out at restaurants, always upgrading and purchasing new electronics, subscription creep. So really, salary funds wealth, but salary alone doesn't create wealth. The gap and what you buy with it, aka assets, does. So let's talk about the 7 levers that actually make you rich. The first one is that we want to grow the gap. So income minus your expenses is what we call the investable gap. So wealth is created when you are consistently widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend and then investing it. So if the average American is only investing or saving 6% of their after-tax income, then we want to try to beat that in order to create more wealth for us. So if you can target 15 to 25% to start with, then push to 30 to 40% during your peak earning years, you will be in a much better position. A more practical play is to automate your contributions on the day that you're paid. So whether you are moving money to a 401k, an IRA, or a taxable brokerage account, every time you get a raise or a bonus at work, see if you can increase the percentage you're investing rather than increasing your spending and your lifestyle. The second lever is that we want to kill wealth leaks. So the fastest way to get richer is to stop getting poorer. And here are some big leaks that we can eliminate first. The first one is eating out frequently, because this can easily add up to hundreds, if not 1,000 or thousands monthly. If you have the ability to cook more, you can stop wasting so much money on eating out. New cars, I've talked about this many times, you take a 30% depreciation hit, and then there's a ton of interest, especially with the rates right now. So if you can, buy maybe reliable used and keep the car for longer. Subscription sprawl. So, a lot of times now we have to opt into these subscriptions in order to do things with our phones and our computers. And so if you just try to keep what you actually use and do a regular audit of your subscriptions, this can help you save quite a bit of money as well. Another place to potentially save is on phone upgrades. Nowadays, you can basically finance a brand new iPhone without any interest for 12 to 24 months. You can do like trade-ins and stuff like that, but that also makes us prone to wanting a brand new iPhone every year or every even 2 years. But sometimes with these iPhones, you realize that it's still kind of the same phone, and it has been for 6 or 7 years now. They make the camera a little bit better, they make things a little bit faster, but it's pretty much still the same phone. So if you don't really need a new phone or really need a new computer, whatever it is, you can reallocate the savings to investments automatically. The third lever is that we want to build the buffer. So your first $10,000 in savings is a psychological unlock. video up top there where I talk about why everything changes after your first $10,000. But, it psychologically lowers your stress, your cortisol, it reduces poor panic decisions around money, and it makes you braver about opportunities when you have that safety net or that comfort. Okay, so these are including things like job moves, investing, negotiations. So I always recommend targeting 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high yield savings account. And right now there are lots of accounts paying around the 3 to 4% range. Video up top there if you want to know which ones are my top picks. But really, when you put money in a savings account as opposed to a traditional checking account that's paying like 0.5% interest, you will feel the difference immediately, and possibly your decisions around money will improve immediately. The fourth lever is owning productive assets. So remember, the rich own. Ownership is what makes people rich. Salaries can feed ownership, but ownership is what creates wealth. And so here are some simple, scalable options to start becoming an owner. We have things like broad market index funds, where we can automate automatic transfers to them every single month. There are REITs if you want to invest in real estate, or maybe even a simple family home or house when you're ready. Airbnb. If you are into business, owning your own business is one of the best assets that you can have. Whether you build or buy a business, every business has its own predictable cash flows, meaning that it is something that you can sell down the line. When your focus shifts towards ownership, you will start getting income like dividends, rent, business profits, and income that you can grow without necessarily putting in more hours. So a good reminder here is that our net worth, assets minus liabilities, is the score. It's not income. The fifth lever is to stack your own skills with asymmetric upside. Now, I think the best return on investment earlier on in your career or your life is building skills and being really, really good at skills that earn promotions. These are things like communication, leadership, negotiation, skills that you can monetize on your own, such as sales, copywriting, analytics, or code. A skill that adds $10,000 a year forever is worth 6 figures of portfolio value at a 4% withdrawal equivalent. And this is how you escape pure salary dependence, because there's only so much that can happen when you are just fully dependent on one source of income, which is your salary. The sixth lever is that we want to systemize everything. So quietly wealthy people, they run systems, not just willpower. So this would include auto investing on the day that you're paid, doing quarterly subscription audits, or just a regular review of your expenses and see, whether you're spending money on things you're actually using or not, annual insurance or phone plan shopping, making the 72-hour rule on non-essential big purchases, which basically means that if there's something that you want to buy and you're thinking about it, maybe sleeping on it for 3 days and seeing whether it is still something you want to buy. And when you make default choices that are wealth friendly, you don't need to exercise discipline on whether to spend or not at 9 o'clock after a long day. The seventh lever is using taxes and accounts as leverage. So I always recommend people to max out the free money first. So if your employer offers you a 401k match on your contributions, definitely take advantage of that, because it's free money that can be invested and it can mean a lot to you in the long term. So tax shelters like your 401k, 403b, a solo 401k, or an HSA, as well as a Roth or traditional IRA. Now we're really talking about all the different tax advantaged accounts, making sure that you're making the right moves when it comes to taxes and optimizing your taxes, because taxes really are your biggest expense. And in life, there are 2 guarantees, death and taxes. So when you structure contributions and accounts right, it can accelerate compounding without paying extra tax for no reason. Now I want to show you some simple examples that show you how this can play out. We have 2 scenarios here. We have scenario A, which is somebody who earns $120,000, let's just say after tax, and they spend $110,000 of it, and they invest the remaining $10,000 a year at 7%. After 20 years, they will have $409,000. The second scenario is somebody who earns $90,000 after tax. They spend $60,000 of it, and they invest the remaining $30,000 a year at 7%. Okay, so that's $30K invested versus $10K invested with somebody that has a lower salary and a more modest lifestyle. The result after 20 years is that that person who is making $90,000 now has $1.23 million in their portfolio. So the gap and the consistency between investing actually beats a raw salary. High income without a high savings rate means that you're basically just working, paying bills, and you're just constantly on this like hamster wheel or this treadmill. Versus a moderate income with high savings rate and ownership is how you can escape that velocity. So some common pitfalls that we want to avoid, I've talked about some of these before, but it's always good to kind of revisit the basics, is that anytime you want to purchase something that's depreciating, like a car or furniture, it's not a good idea to finance it in any situation, even if it's interest-free. Thinking that raises alone will save you, probably not, because I think we all know that inflation can be very aggressive and we can't always just wait for our boss and our employer and our next raise to save you. And waiting to invest until times feel right. There never really is a reason to wait to invest until things feel right. Now, of course, there are times when recessions happen, when markets go down, when stocks are at a discount. And I have a personal rule when it comes to investing that I never like to purchase any stock if it's at its peak in pricing. But generally speaking, for the most part, over time, they have studied this extensively, that dollar cost averaging and putting your money in rather than trying to time things usually works better for most people. And of course, we want to make sure that we're not skipping any emergency funds as well. So if you're wondering what you can actually do or what you can take away from this video, I would recommend, if you're just getting started, to try to start automating more of your savings into investments. Okay, so whether you're not investing anything at all or you're investing like 5% a year, see if you can get to that 15 to 25%. Try to cut one major leak as well in what you currently do, whether that's downgrading on your dining out, pausing a subscription or two, delaying an upgrade, and try to redirect more savings to investments. If you don't already have a $10,000 emergency fund, work on that and watch your decision-making improve. Now, this one's a little harder, but choose one ownership vehicle that you want to commit to. It can be a small skill-based business, it can be an index fund, or it can be something like a REIT or an Airbnb or rental property, whatever it is. And on a regular basis, it's always a good idea to pull out a pen and paper or the Excel spreadsheets and start tracking your net worth, because what you don't measure cannot be improved. And when it's more top of mind and conscious, you're more likely to make better decisions that impact your net worth. So your salary can fund your life, but your systems and having ownership are what build wealth. If you are interested in my free budgeting tracker, make sure you check it out in the description box below. It's really thorough, especially if you're into zero-based budgeting, which is what I highly recommend. And if this video helped you at all, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with somebody who you might think that this video is helpful. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the 7 levers that I mentioned today, whether I've missed anything, and I will see you guys in the next one. Until next time.